Peace, family. This is Fleur coming to you today to discuss a new topic of discussion. And I've been out of the mix for a little bit since the post-fast. I've been in, post-fast you have to really start to reacclimate yourself to food, and it could be a difficult transition sometimes. Depends. But anyway, it went well. But topic of discussion today I want to bring into our frame of consciousness is the GMO and empty seat status located within the realms of whistleblowing. And there is another form of another interior form of this, which could be some system of white supremacy that is also being upheld in some of the whistleblowing communities. So let's get into it. What I'm noting, family, is that as I watch videos, I actually spoke to a friend today and we had a discussion on whistleblowing. And shout out to PB, Smiley. We always have great discussions. He's a contactee as well. We really get to get inside of topics that would normally be tabooed or would not even come in a conversation with, someone who didn't have the same experiences as both of us have, and the people that we parlay with or kiki with, what have you. Anyhow, what we found is as we walk in between the lines and really start to note whistleblowers that are out there, there is a very slippery slope between telling the truth and telling the truth as long as you're still in the top tier of the seating chart in your world. Now, what am I talking about? Okay, so we have whistleblowers out here, quite a few of them. And I don't want to give names now. We'll discuss that another time. But a lot of you who are on my channel or who tend to watch some of my videos know of many of the different whistleblowers that are out here speaking on matters of whether it be the ET on UFO topics, whether it be just the insidiousness of what goes on behind our governmental system that is disdainful to the people around the world, and how they are benefiting off of the destruction or the disenfranchising of the very people that they they have stated that they were here to protect and keep our interest keep our interest always in their frame of consciousness in order to work to benefit the people. Whistleblowing usually goes into topics of the government conspiracies, what has happened, JFK, 9/11, that there were inside jobs, the government all had to do with that. Sometimes we go into topics of, the Vatican and how they are just, pedophiles, pedophile insectoids, infiltrating as godly Christians. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, they're perverted other worldly entities. Anyway, whistleblowing can go into a lot of different topics. It can go into religious, banter. It can go into other realms of disclosing governmental illusions, spiritual illusions. Sometimes just going into the world of, what is it, like TV and movie stars, and going into their lives and talking about the deception behind all the what we see is not necessarily what it is when we're encountering these entities that we call celebrities. Anyhow, what I'm noting, family, is there is a slight imbalance. It's big, but when I say slight, is that any knowledge that you get and you can learn from and you can benefit from, as far as telling you the truth and being able to take that truth and being to change your life for the better, or to move forward and further stimulate other people to make a better change, or to just blow the smoke and smoke away from all the misnomers that we're living in our society, I think it's all beneficial. Whether it comes from, let's even say, the Ku Klux Klan, to some aspects they are anti, they're anti-establishment, and some of the things that they discuss in their meetings and in their, their system, in their world, is beneficial to everyone to know. And as you note, that I always state, is never throw the baby out with bathwater. When you get knowledge, you take it, and you don't have to take the consciousness that comes along with it, or the impracticalities of the information, some of the information that comes along with some gems. Because what happens a lot of times is, with certain whistleblowers, they will give you a lot of the truth, and then they'll throw in some extra that is to throw you off from the true path, and it's really just a way to keep you kind of keep coming for more and stuck, but never really giving you the full truth, because if you knew the full truth, you wouldn't have to come to them anymore. So it's kind of keeping you caught in the wet of deception in their own realm. But what we're noting, myself and a couple of my friends and a couple of my colleagues, is that there is a level of whistleblowing that is occurring that is upholding some form of anti-indigenous, anti-brown, anti-black. And I say anti because when I use the word white supremacy, I notice I get a lot of negative feedback. Listen, when I say white supremacy, it is a system that is being a lot of people are partaking in white supremacy. It is a system. And when I state it, it is just that there is home court advantage with a particular people right now. And it has not always been that way. It will change. It's about to change now. It is already changing. And there will be home court advantage for another set of people. It's always been the case. So when I speak of white supremacy, it's not anti-European or white. That makes no sense. It is the white supremacy system is set up to keep indigenous, copper, brown, and black people at a certain level, or to keep them restricted so that they're not able to uphold any status, notably a considerable amount of status amongst a lot of people, and also to keep them in line. And that's what it was set up for. Okay, so when I note white supremacy, it is not anti-white. It doesn't mean that it's anti-black. And if I say that it exists, and you're getting angry and calling me a racist for saying that we live in a racist system, you're confused. Okay, so let's get that correct. White supremacy system there's a lot of participants, and they're not all white. There are black people who participate in white supremacy, in the white supremacy system. There are Asian people who partake in the white supremacy system and oppress other people of color, indigenous. There are white people who partake in the white supremacy system. Just because it says white supremacy doesn't mean they're the only people participating in this disdainful system that is meant to keep a certain person at a certain level of disadvantage. Okay, so the comments, I feel uncomfortable with the comments because I want young people to come to our platform. And as you all know, though I speak on many topics, there will be respect amongst our forum because we do have young people, and I want to keep them in a balanced environment. I am a proponent of cohesiveness with our world, with young, youthful people and animals and trees. That is my status. I don't uphold to being negative towards anyone and using four-letter words in order to get my point across. If you have to do that to be able to state something, then you're not invited to my platform and you will be omitted and blocked. I think it's unfortunate that we have some GMOs out here, genetically modified organisms that are people, that look like people walking around, who have a lack of consciousness. I even question them being a soul. I think they're empty seaters, and they come to certain platforms where they see people that may look a little different from them, sometimes very similar. It doesn't matter all the time. I think sometimes on my platform, my knowledge, what I speak about is appealing to a lot of different people, and I think it is sometimes threatening to certain people who may have not seen a face like this discussing topics that are probably relative to them. And I will only have healthy conversations. And again, this topic is about whistleblowing and it not really being whistleblowing. And what I said initially is that if you're a whistleblower, this information would be relative to everyone. When you are discussing the idiosyncrasies that are occurring in our government and religions and the ET community, it should be relative, and whistleblowing is basically anti-establishment, talking about and blowing the cover off of all the lies and deception that has been occurring to keep people in general, just every people, in a certain level of disdained, a disdained state of being, or just not awake, or just lying and deceiving them to keep them in a fog, while the others, amongst the others, the top tiers, they're allowed to just do and roam and take pleasure out of ruling a world of people that are unaware of their state of slavery. And if a lot of you didn't know, the system that was set up initially, it was meant to keep all people at a certain level of, a certain level of criteria of disadvantage. So it's not just brown people, black people, and so on. White people, Asian people, Latino people are affected highly by it. But when I utilize the term home court advantage, we were previously living in a system that was Eurocentric, in the realms. When I say home court advantage, I'm sorry. When I say home court advantage, we were living in a European system that was to benefit people, non-melanated people, and European people at the time. And it is what it is. And like I said, in Egyptian times, there was brown people and copper people ruling, and they kept other people at a disadvantage too. So if I speak on this, remember, this is one aspect of time, but previously there were times before where there were melanated people engaged in a lot of these activities, as well as now in this home court advantage of non-melanated people. That was non-melanated people, they had advantage too in that system. So now it's switching back to a more balanced system where everybody can be at an equal status, so that they can benefit however their consciousness allows. But I have a problem with the whistleblowers right now. I have a problem with them speaking about things but restricting certain information that would benefit others that they don't feel in kinship with. I have a problem if you're a whistleblower and you're hearing information that would be beneficial to other people that may not look like you, that may come from a different demographics and different culture than you, and you're withholding that information or actually misleading people so that they're not able to absorb the gems that come along with learning the secrets and the truths about what's really been occurring in our society. I have a problem with that. And I'm seeing a lot of non-melanated people. There's some melanated people in there too. I said a lot of non-melanated, but there's some, there's some melanated, brown, copper indigenous people who are partaking in this whistleblowing with the restriction of others. They may learn about it and they don't want to bring it forward, the truths, because it might be beneficial. And if you're a whistleblower, if you're a true whistleblower, the information that you get should just be shared. And by having balance in your society, whether it be women learning more about themselves and really what they are, so that it would benefit them and make them into much more healthier individuals, so that they can move forward, and if they partake in relationships, they can create better, healthy systems with their families. I mean, it would be beneficial. So if a man is withholding information that would benefit women, I have a problem with that. If a brown person is withholding knowledge that would benefit a European, someone of European background, I have a problem with it. And if I'm hearing a lot of information with people who are non-melanated or culturally not associated with any indigenous people, and they are totally restricting all information that would be beneficial to any brown, copper, indigenous, or others, I have a problem with you. And I feel like we're now in the times where you cannot get away with withholding information that would be beneficial to people who are living within your society. We are all living in America right now, most of us. Well, we have a lot of subscribers from England, so I'm speaking based on the demographics of the United States now. I do speak sometimes on everyone in a broad spectrum, and this affects people in Europe too, obviously, because they have the same system of white supremacy that was previously in rulership, and again, they were dealing with some of the remnants of that. But right now, I'm speaking about people here in the States, and I feel like we need to move past this, people. There was a system that was in place to restrict specific people, but remember, what you do to one person will trickle on to others. All it is a holding system initially for a specific people, but it will always, what you allow for others in disdain or greatness will always come into your backyard. It may take a little longer, but it will always affect you. So if you allow a woman to not progress or keep her, keep lies and lies and uphold mistruths about who she is and what she is and how she's actually supposed to exist, that would be healthier for her, all it's going to do is affect you and your seeds. So we have to really get past this. The whistleblowers need to come out and disperse of all the information. Stop withholding information and misguiding others so that you can still sit in your seat of supremacy above others. Whether it be males sharing, we have a lot of males who will share information, but they won't share information about the women because they feel, maybe feel a little threatened about what if a woman comes into her own? What if she comes into, some self-awareness and she begins to be healthy? If she's healthy, it only benefits the society. And we all live in society. I remember I'm originally from New York, and I remember seeing, you go in, especially in Manhattan, you'll see a hood, and then like a block or something later, you'd see beautiful brownstones and beautiful trees, right? But just a block before that, you see dirt. No, trees aren't living. It almost looks grayer. It's disheveled. What do you think that happens? What do you think is going to happen eventually? What that neighborhood of disdainfulness and lower vibration on one half is going to affect the safety and security of the ones living above that. And what you don't realize is by being a whistleblower and not sharing information that would be benefit to everyone, you're creating more imbalance, and you're going to get more of that. And when you allow another individual or another people to be harmed or to be kept in the dark, it will affect you and your seed. You will never be safe. You will never be safe. That is why there is such a disgusting feeling about people of color when they come, or some people of color, when they come into the realm of people who have not been exposed to them. They are the people who have not been exposed to people of color who've been watching, MK Ultra news every night, especially CNN, and Fox News. They have such a deep-seated fear of black people. And when they come in contact with them, they flip out. Whether it be clutching their purse, whether it be just being overly sweet and nice to almost to make yourself feel better because you have that fear inside of you. That's imbalance, and it's set up. That imbalance is coming from our society being so lopsided on the pendulum. Whistleblowers, this is a call out to all the whistleblowers. Stop it already. Stop it. It is sickening. You are disgusting me by, by withholding information that would benefit them all. And I'm not saying every whistleblower, but I am noting, this is just me and my people. I am noting about 70% of whistleblowers I'm listening to that I know for a fact have gotten information regarding another group of people, whether it be people of color, whether it be women, whether it be, meat eaters to vegans. I am noting that there are a lot of whistleblowers, especially in the ET community, that are withholding information that would benefit another people, or another culture of people, or another class of people, or another gender of people. I am noting that is a regular occurrence happening in whistleblowing. I'm calling you out. You are not a true whistleblower, especially, you know how I feel about Project Camelot. And, this is my opinion. I will state this is purely my opinion. I don't like how Carrie Cassidy talks about certain information, and she gets other information and she tries to steer people in another direction because she's uncomfortable with it. How she'll have such a negative feeling about the Anunnaki when now we are learning the Anunnaki are original genetic makers of the brown people, or mixed with them. So I have a problem with that when your personal hatred or dislike for a certain people or certain gender is gearing you to mislead people by not sharing some of the information that you're getting because you think it might create something good for them and it might take away something from you. By making someone's life better, whether it be anyone, I don't care where they come from, it is only going to benefit you on a personal basis, on a soul basis, on an environmental basis, and on a global basis. It will only benefit you. So this is a shout out to those whistleblowers who are actually doing what they're set out to do in a positive, unbiased way. For all you others, and I call you GMOs or empty seaters, because for you to do that, if you have information that you're withholding and you call yourself a whistleblower from a specific people or specific gender of people, you're an empty seater. You're just as bad as the government that you supposedly are calling out, the religious leaders that you supposedly have such disdain for. You're just as bad, if not worse, that you are partaking in some formulated form of hatred towards a people or towards a gender of people or a culture of people based on your ignorance. And sometimes I just think things are so genetically deep in your DNA that I think it's hard for people to want better if they've been living under a system that has benefited them and theirs. I know this for a fact. If you've lived a good life, like I hear people talk about the 50s and the 30s, oh, let's go back to the good old days. And do they realize when they state that in the ears or in the frame of consciousness of a person of color what that means? It may have been good for someone of European background, maybe, but it was disdainful for people of color. That was a very traumatic time when people were being murdered. They couldn't sit in place. There was no fairness. There was a lot of civil unrest in their areas. They weren't safe. How dare you sit in someone's consciousness and state, oh, it's the good old days. Be mindful of other people's perspective. Walk in someone else's shoes. I'm not for any means saying that you should not be happy for the great things that happen to your life and what your ancestors have created and comfort for you. But if that comfort was at the disadvantage, created and brought about disadvantages to others, you should note that. I'm not saying you can't enjoy it, but be considerate of those who have, because of the wonderful things that have occurred in society, that have been created for one people, may have caused disdain and hardship and pain and death and murders and rapes to another. Be mindful. That's being conscious. And if you want to be a whistleblower, I'm calling you out. Just be a full whistleblower. There are good people, bad people. There are good ETs and bad ETs. We got clones walking around. We got all kinds of crazy entities. We got religious people walking around. And I hear them on, you guys have conversations down there. A lot of, religious people. They have a wonderful platform on the reptilian videos that I have. But some of the comments, really? Anyway, so I'm kind of just venting today. I'm really having an issue with those who call themselves whistleblowers and they're actually blowing whistles only when it benefits them and theirs. Only when they find information that would benefit them. And if they find information that would be beneficial to another, they keep it to themselves, or they mislead people by negating a certain aspect that they've learned, like, that lady that I just mentioned, talking about the reptilians in such a negative way, when in fact she's doing it because she knows that's linked to a certain other people. That's it. I'm just calling it out. That's my opinion. So I know I'm a little feisty today, but that really was challenging to my consciousness to really come to a realization that we have people calling themselves whistleblowers that are quite the opposite in my mind, and it's 70% now. I'm noting it, my people are noting it, their people are noting it, and they're not all black people, they're not all Latina people, they're not all Asian people, they're not all white people, they're everyone is noting it, that there is some sort of system, like a subsystem in a pseudo conscious community where people are only disclosing things that would benefit them and skew people in a certain direction. So let's have this conversation. Let it be respectful. Again, I have a lot of young people that I really, really care about, and I want them to be able to be on a healthy platform to have these discussions. You know, I am a mother, and I really would like for people to have a balance. You can come from a different opinion, and I'm okay with that. And you guys know that. A lot of times you hear me respond, it's never to attack, because a lot of times for us to come together, we're gonna sometimes come from different walks of life, and it may not always be the same, or we have the same opinion, but we can be respectful to one another, and it gives us a better perspective of where someone else comes from and their formulated way of thinking. So I think if we can do that, it'd be great. But let's talk about the whistleblowing. Let's blow some spots on these whistleblowers. I want you to put some names out there. Next video, I might throw out some names. I'm being a little mindful now, just because, I'm a feisty Creole. I come off, sometimes I can be a little out there, and I want to be respectful, even though I know this is going on. But I want to start this conversation. Let's talk about the whistleblowers. What do you think about it? Do you think it's okay to know certain information that would be beneficial to another people and just withhold it because you know that if you discussed it or brought it out, that maybe the world would be more balanced, and maybe you wouldn't be up here, but maybe we'd all be here? So let's get in this conversation. I love you. And again, love you if you don't like me. I love it when you make a like on my videos, and I really appreciate you guys, even the ones that have a really interesting state of consciousness. Just keep it positive and keep it good. And if you don't do it, I'm gonna block you. And like I said, I'll block you first, and if you're nasty, I'm gonna send the ancestors after you. And you know I'm down with the galactic family. Anyway, love you. Fleur, peace.